And when the darkness seems so strong and you just can't go on, pray for your helping hand. You'll see the sun will rise again. You'll find the strength to carry on up to heaven where you belong. 'Cause life is but a journey for us all.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome, dear viewers, to a brand new episode of your brand new series, Building a Better Future. I'm still your host, Malik, and I'm still here with our special guest, all the way from the Colorado Muslim Society in Denver, Colorado. I think you know who he is from the inevitable journey from the righteous companions. You've seen him online at www.huda.tv, on YouTube at IslamWay71, and on his own site, www.KarimAbuZaid.com. Well, we've been talking about empowering the next generation. We've been talking about attributes. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. This episode, we're going to focus on the third institution that is going to empower the next generation. We talked about the home, the most important, the fundamental. We talked about the mosque. Now we're going to talk about the school. This poses a big and interesting challenge for us as parents. Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid, what can we tell our parents and what can we tell ourselves about the schools?
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله. Malik, that third institution is a crucial, rather the most important, because it comes at a time of the life of our children when they are very accepting, very sensitive, very early in their lives, whether it is elementary or high school, where what we call in America the peer pressure plays a vital, rather a killer role in the life of these children. And if we cannot, as Muslims, harbor our own children in the environment that we create for them, then we are sending them to another environment where we have no control whatsoever, which is the public school system. We know in the West in particular, and again, we seem to be focusing on this because a great portion of our viewers are from Europe and also from America, where there is private schools, which is the Islamic schools.
Which you pay money to send them to.
You pay money to send them to. And there is the public school system where you get it for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult choice.
Of course.
But the public school system, regardless of what you do at home, the chances are very, very rare that you're going to get a child.
A pious child. Why?
Because the environment, they do not enforce the principles of Islam. There is a great, enough to know that they distribute condoms.
Yeah, it's not conducive to what we want to teach our children.
Here you are teaching your child at home as a Muslim to lower their gaze, and they are in school. The culture is, let's have a safe sex.
Which means...
Yeah, that's how far apart we are.
Yeah.
So you have no choice whatsoever but to establish your own, again, Islamic schools.
Well, what do we mean by Islamic school? Just a school populated by Muslim children?
No, that is the problem that we have also in America, and I have seen it with my own eyes, that people calling it an Islamic school because the principal is a Muslim and the teachers, the majority of them are Muslims, and there are Muslim children in the school.
Let's define Islamic school before we go any further, Sheikh, so we can see.
It's ran according to the Quran and the Sunnah. And the environment created inside the school is Islamic, meaning the teachers must be dressed Islamically correct. If she is a female teacher, you have to enforce the hijab. and again, hijab is not a scarf. It doesn't make any sense that you get the best teacher who teaches my child math, and he is a guru in math, but yet the teacher is not holding the Islamic principles. This is a dangerous
contradiction.
Contradiction. You're confusing the children. You are confusing them. You see, you're teaching, you're still having mixing boys and girls together in the same class at an age which is very sensitive. Then they come and they debate with you. Well, mixing is not. We could do it as a. You see, that's the problem. Again, like the masajid, these schools are privately run by individuals who probably do not hold the proper understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. Again, whether they are thirsty for power or whether they are running for, to serve the interest of a certain group, or whether they just find a living in that thing and they found themselves in charge, which they call them, and again, because there is a separation between any religious institution in America and the state.
Right.
The state does not, so again they have to form their own board. They call it a board of education. Now those people have no clue about the Islamic education.
With various intentions as well.
And various intentions. They don't understand. Some of them are liberal. Some of them, they do not believe that we should enforce the hijab. Some of them believe that we should not enforce the segregation.
Various problems arise.
But again, that causes a problem. The school does not serve. Some of them, they say, let's take it into a charter school where you cannot even mention Allah. Charter school means it's still an Islamic school, but again,
because the government is funding it.
The government is funding it. You cannot mention Allah.
Right.
Yet you can be Muslims inside the school and so forth. But if nobody is allowed to mention Allah, you cannot. If you see the child doing something wrong, you cannot tell them that ittaqillah, this is wrong. You cannot hang a picture, for example, of Ayatul Kursi, for example. You cannot put Allah's name on the wall. You cannot, for example, you as a principal you cannot counsel a child using Islam, according to Islam. You cannot talk about religion. So again, all these are problems that we're having with existing schools. And that is where I highly respect parents in America who they move from one state to another because they have found the right school. And wallahi, I have seen this, ya Malik, and again, I don't like to take an oath, but this stuff is so difficult sometimes to comprehend, that parents who would sacrifice his 6 figures job in another state, and he would go and move to another state, for example, because he found the right school for his children, the right school, that the principal is enforcing. First of all, the principal himself. A lot of the principals in these schools in America, they don't even know the Quran and Sunnah. They don't, unfortunately. They don't even, they are clean shaved. You find them shaved, or the best of خَيْرُ الذُّقُونِ إِشَارَةٌ تَكُونِ. Some of these beards that,
fashion, look like fashion.
Fashion, like, or maybe he did not forget to shave for the last 2-3 days. Or like here in the Middle East, when somebody dies, you leave your beard showing sadness or something. So you cannot be like that. You want somebody who has the gesture of a Muslim, somebody who loves the deen, who loves Islam, to be the head of that institution. You want also the teachers. You go to these schools in America, they force dress code. What is wrong with you to force a dress code in your school? You find them actually hiring non-Muslims to teach Muslims. I'm not saying non-Muslims are bad, but you see, if you go and hire the best non-Muslim to come into the school to teach your child science, right? Okay. At the end of the day, even if that non-Muslim holds the best character, she's still a non-Muslim. So the child is going to associate being a non-Muslim with being good. Which is, being good in the area of the religion.
Right.
But some of them are good in spite of the fact that they are not.
Of course.
But I'm saying that the associate, because you're bringing up a child, you want to enforce the Islamic principles. You want to show them the Islamic character, the Islamic demeanor, the Islamic look, and everything. You want to force this in your schools. The problem with the schools that we have, existing schools, they do not hold these principles. And you see, I see this as a problem, as a problem. Right now, for example, I get a lot of counseling with the youth. Okay, a mother comes complaining to me, Sheikh, my daughter goes outside with boys at night. Her daughter is a teenager, 15, 16, 17 years old, with boys. She mixes with, she goes outside to the coffee shop to smoke, what they call it, argola or whatever. The
water pipes.
Water pipes.
And drink coffee and mix with men.
Yeah, and mix with men. And then I come, why are you doing this? Sheikh, I was brought up in an Islamic school that allowed mixing.
So what do you, I mean, of course, we're...
You see,
we
that's
passed it on to the next generation.
actually more dangerous. Very confusing.
Yeah, contradiction.
My teacher, my best teacher, did not wear her hijab, Sheikh.
So then it's okay not to wear hijab from the children's perspective.
Her best teacher, her favorite teacher did not wear her hijab.
Yeah.
Her favorite teacher did not believe in Allah. You understand?
Yeah.
So once we talk about an Islamic school, a school that runs according to the Quran and the Sunnah.
That's our first step.
That is the first step.
Find that school for your children.
But again, everybody claims the Quran and Sunnah.
How do we know?
But based on the understanding of the first 3 generations. That's why we confine it to those 3 generations.
That's our indication.
Yeah, بفهم سلف الأمة. Again, Salaf is not a group. Salafi is not a group. Salaf is a methodology to understand and implement the Quran and the Sunnah.
So we're not doing injustice when people say, oh, it's just a group. This is just another one of the groups.
No.
Okay.
So that is the problem that we're having. And we have to find a solution, Malik, for this.
Okay, we definitely do.
Yeah,
and we have one more segment, and we're going to continue to talk about this, inshallah. And I want to share with you a funny story about my experience in the American public schools regarding 2 funny topics, sex education and evolution, which we didn't mention, which is very, very funny as well. Stay tuned, you guys, for more with Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid. Assalamu alaikum.
Up to heaven, heaven where I belong.
Welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. This season of Tech Talk, we will focus specifically on the internet.
A student would type their paper, and instead of handing me a hard copy of their paper, they would upload it to this learning system, this e-learning system.
I have some great experience when it comes to technology, and in particular, internet technology. Call to action is something that we do in our day-to-day lives, and maybe we don't realize it. Now we want to discuss, after you have a product and you have a website and you have a way to communicate with your customers, which would be your email marketing system, now it's time to take the money from the customer.
Up to heaven, heaven where I belong.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for staying tuned to your program, Building a Better Future. Sheikh Karim, before the break, I wanted to share a couple of funny stories with you about my experience in the American public schools. I remember I was 14 years old, and one day they said to us, okay, you're going to learn about sex and sex education. And they took all the boys together, and they gave us popcorn. And one of our science teachers, kind of overweight, fat guy, he's really one of our favorite teachers, he got up there and showed us pictures and things that we shouldn't be exposed to at that age, and we're talking about sex. And this topic, if it comes from anybody, it should come from your father. So I think definitely that was more damaging than anything, and that's from my experience in the United States. What was even worse than that was growing up, Sheikh, thinking and believing that evolution was true. And I believe this, because why wouldn't I believe it? I was told that from an early age. They had this chart, Sheikh, that it shows a small monkey, and then like a bigger monkey, and a bigger monkey, and then it keeps going until the person's standing upright. So they said, this is your forefathers, this is evolution. So, 4 months ago, I was still living in the United States, I was working, and my boss says to me something about evolution. I said, you don't believe in evolution? He said, of course I do. It's proven. I said, Sean, but you're a Christian. I thought you believed in the Bible. He said, I don't believe in every word of it. The evolution is fact. I said, subhanAllah, I can't believe it, Yeah. I look back and I have a little bit of anger, actually, that I felt like I was misled this way. And so we definitely want to take care about...
One way or another, Malik, we I always say this, we are victims of a curriculum.
Excellent point.
Yeah, and we're talking about the new generation. We got to give them the right curriculum. I mean, if you're going to share a story with me, I share another one with you that really showed me, and I think that was one of the, and probably I'm going to reveal myself to the viewers through that story, but I don't mind doing it. By profession, I used to be a guide, tour guide.
Okay.
To begin with, by birth, I'm not an imam. I just came and acquired the knowledge, and alhamdulillah. So I used to take a lot of, Christian and Jewish groups into the mountain of Sinai to and accompany them, and they always posed to me that question, which is, that the Jews build the pyramids.
They love to quote this. I have a funny story. I'm going to follow this up with something else. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So look at this, and they, we were brought up in Egypt here that Egyptians, the pyramids, the thing,
right. Everybody, all the nationalities have that.
Yeah. So I get angry and upset, And then I would go back to the books of history where I used to study the hieroglyphic history, the ancient history.
The pharaonic stuff.
The pharaonic stuff. And I don't find any place for the Jews at all.
Yeah.
And they tell me, Moses was here and the children of Israel, they were here and they were in bondage and Moses freed them. I go back to the curriculum where I was taught,
Right.
Look, where is Musa? There is nobody. And, that group, subhanAllah, they happened that they had to fly out of Cairo. So I delivered them to the airport as if, I
take them to let them go.
Took them to the airport. And then I was so frustrated because that priest, or I believe it was a rabbi, he was very pushy about it, and he got me angry and upset. So by all of a sudden, I stopped the cab to take me back home to where I live in Cairo. And subhanAllah, I ended up with a very religious brother,
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's turning the Quran on.
Good.
And then I get into the car, Malik, and then, by all of a sudden, I heard Sheikh al-Minshawi, Muhammad Siddiq al-Minshawi, reciting this surah, Surah Al-Qasas. The surah that we talked about, Bani Israel. طه سين ميم تلك آيات الكتاب المبين نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون. We're going to tell you the story of Musa and the Pharaoh. For me, it's like this Quran was like, man, the Jewish rabbi is right. Musa was in Egypt because the Pharaoh.
Right.
And he started telling Pharaoh did this to the children of Israel, bondage. So far, I mean, the Quran does not say whether they build the pyramids or not, but at least it proven to me a historic fact that the Jews were here, the children of Israel were here in Egypt.
Right.
For me, this was taken out of the curriculum.
They censored this, so to speak.
I felt betrayed.
Yeah, because you were a child and you were innocent. They didn't
How come you did not teach me that? How come I had to get it from somebody else? So at the end of the day, whatever curriculum you apply, it serves a certain agenda. And all of us are victims of that curriculum. And that is why we want to free. The religion comes to free people from the slavery of other people. We want to free that new generation from any interests, any political agendas, anything. Just bring them up as slaves to Allah. And the only way for you to do this is to apply the curriculum of Allah and His Messenger, the Quran and the Sunnah in the schools, and you create the environment for this.
Okay, that's the centerpiece.
The people who teach it. Because children look at you still probably remember your teachers. I still remember my
everybody
teachers.
does. They play a big role in your life.
If she is not wearing a hijab, if he is not behaving like a decent Muslim, if he lies and backbites, he does not deserve to be teaching my child, at least in the school area.
Yeah, of course.
At least in the school area. This is the problem that we have with our schools. And, I feel, again, for these parents who changed their state because they have found the right Islamic school for
their children. That's how important it is.
Their children. And I feel also for these parents who sacrifice $400 or $500 to make sure that their children are placed in the right environment and receiving Islamic education.
This is our investment, we could say.
This is an investment. Meanwhile, they have the choice to send them to a free
school.
But this one will give them the deen.
What is the return on the investment? If we put $500 a month to send our kid to school, how will it pay us back? Because everybody's looking at finances and long-term investments.
I tell my brothers and sisters in Islam, consider this money, the tuition that you pay to the Islamic school is an act of sadaqah. Because you have a choice, an act of sadaqah. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says this, ثلاثة أقسم عليهن, 3 things I'm willing to take an oath on. One of which, ما نقص مال من صدقة, your wealth will never decrease because of a sadaqah. And I tell you, these brothers and these sisters who do this, they never have a problem with money. They rather help the institution with donations and more stuff. Add to this, Malik, they have no choice. They have no choice whatsoever to do this. Because if your child goes to public school, forget about it. Forget about it.
That's how serious it is.
This is how serious it is. And look, Muslims, look at the Catholics in the West.
They built their schools. No one has any problem with that.
And they know what? They have now one-gender schools.
And nobody's getting on them about anything. There's no problem.
No, I tell you, America is in need of these schools because it teaches manners, it teaches characters, it teaches people who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before fearing the people. So you got the Catholics already in America. Some Muslims enroll their children in Catholic schools.
You know, I visited a Catholic school back in the States. I was doing some work, and I remember walking in there and seeing like this environment they had. And I was thinking, I wish the Muslims had something like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so
the best.
Yeah.
So we as Muslims, we cannot provide this for our children. Then there is something wrong with us.
Imagine we're sending the kid to a Catholic school. It's not right to sit in a non-Muslim country if we're going to expose our kids, in my opinion, to these things. If we're going to sit over there, we should try to establish ourselves. And I mean, the laws over there there's nothing against it. We should definitely.
They entertain it. There is
there's no problem.
Actually, subhanallah, they request days off. They give it to them. The days of Eid off, they give it to them.
Yeah, no problem.
You can do it. You can do it. But it's going to take a sacrifice on the side of the parents.
Yeah, of course.
But also, it's going to take a sacrifice on the side of people who are willing to invest in these institutions. Because I tell you right now that tuition does not subsidize all the school.
How can they generate revenue then?
Stores. We have schools in America that has its own like halal store.
Oh, like a meat shop, for example.
Shop,
yeah, of course.
Book library, bookstore. Audio stuff. And you go and spend in this. You know, you go buy instead of going to Giants or
Safeway or whatever, go to the halal shop.
Go to the halal shop.
Of course.
If this store brings revenues into the schools to subsidize the
school,
the fundraisings and all of this.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
It can be done.
But again, Malik, and I think I'm going to begin the next episodes with actually proving what you have said, which is if you cannot provide this for your children, then you have to find another place.
Somewhere where we can.
I will actually give you an evidence from the Quran, a verse from the Quran, that subhanallah confirms what you just said. But the next episode, because I can tell that
we're out of
time.
Subject to the director's will, inshallah.
Yes,
so tomorrow, next episode, we're going to continue on this topic, and I look forward to what you have to say, Sheikh.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Jazakallah, for your time. And you guys don't miss the next episode of Building a Better Future. It's your program. It's for your benefit. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum.
And when the darkness seems so strong and you just can't go on, pray for your helping hand. You'll see the sun will rise again. You'll find the strength to carry on up to heaven where you belong. 'cause life is but a journey for us all. We cry, we laugh, we run, sometimes we fall. But through it all, always recall, God never gives a burden too tall.